Hello and good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you are. Welcome to the Business Octopus live stream. I'm Avon Collis, CRM and marketing automation professional. And today I'm here to talk about all things sales, marketing, and technology. So I guess every week we're doing this live stream. So I started Friday morning, Brisbane time, about 8:30. And so far we've been, like I said, last week we'd skipped a week and we had a whole bunch of people call in and say, "Hey, where were you?" So apologies for that. Trying to be a little bit more regular now. I see we've got a viewer. Thank you. Welcome for coming along. Feel free to use the chat. If you've got any questions or comments, just pop something in, and then I can see that live and answer you while you're here. All right. So today's live stream, I really just wanted to talk about, I guess, being a hippie versus a farmer. Now, I'm kind of coming at this at your sort of sales process perspective. So if you are approaching life as a hippie, and I don't mean that to be disrespectful or anything, anyone who talks about themselves, just popped in for a look. No worries, Facebook user. Great to see you. Yeah, so people who consider themselves to be living off the land, living on those things around them. We've got some more people coming in now. Great, welcome. Yeah, so living off the land versus being a farmer, someone who intentionally places or plants seeds and plans for future growth. So when we're talking about our sales pipeline and we're taking more of that hippie mentality, you might just turn up to a networking event, you might just talk to a few bunch of people, and if no one there is your customer, you don't eat that day. That's the slow, small business mindset and difficult to grow model. Ideally, what you should be doing is turning up to things, doing networking on a regular basis, finding people that you can connect with, collaborate with, that can help identify who your target market is, or maybe if maybe they know your target market. So going one to one is very much the slow way. So if you have a conversation with someone, you've got to explain, one, you've got to introduce yourself, build rapport. Two, you've then got to figure out how they might be able to work with you or become your customer. So you have to convince them and educate them on your business, what you do, why you do what you do, and how much you charge. And then you need to get them to hand over the cash and become a customer. Now, to do that on a one-to-one basis is extremely slow. So I would challenge you, think bigger, be the farmer, be someone who plants a seed. It's ideally not only from a sales perspective, go and meet lots of people, go and share what you do to a broad bunch of people. But those longer sales cycles usually net much bigger deals. You can generally get multi-million dollar deals over a period of months or even years sometimes. So last night I went to a defense industry networking event, and most of the defense projects move in very long cycles. And it was probably a year from when I first went to that networking event to when I actually closed business recently. So even though that took a long, slow time, I was planting those seeds. But now I have a lot of connections with a lot of people in that, albeit slow moving environment, where they now know what I do, my value. So when that conversation comes up, not only are those people likely to become customers, they're likely also to be referral partners. So that's more of that sort of farming mentality. And this is where CRM comes into it, because in order to track, like if you've got a farmer and they've plowed the field, they've planted the seeds, they might have 3 different fields. They know what they planted where on what day. They know how much water they've given it, how much fertilizer they've given it, how long it takes for the next cycle to grow, and they're monitoring and maintaining all the way through. But they've probably got a spreadsheet or some level of documentation somewhere that's helping them understand and manage that process. And in the sales perspective on the CRM side, that's what your CRM should do. Who did you meet? What seed did you plant where? Who did you meet? When did you meet them? A couple of things that remind you who the hell they are. Because I know that there's this concept called Dunbar's number. And that was a study that was done like in the 80s. And they basically said that there's sort of 300 people that you can remember at any one time. And about 150 of those you actually remember some level of detail about. So they're the ones. So The 300 is like you see him in the street and you're like, oh, I know that guy. But then the 150 is the people that are actively in your mind. So when you're walking around, you're having conversations, and someone mentions something, you can go, "Oh, Jerry does that. I know Jerry. I can introduce you." But unless you have like that 150 is taken up with a large number of people, and part of that number needs to go to your family, to your personal connections. So you probably then only have about a third of that for business connections. So a lot of those relationships are kind of hard to quantify or hard to scale because you can only remember a certain amount. So you may as well write them down. And next time you have a meeting with someone, it happens to me all the time. I see an email address I don't recognize. I see a name that I don't recognize, but I just go and look it up in my system. I know somewhere because of what they're saying that I've interacted with them in some way. Or, it might be like this 1% thing that I remember about them. Maybe I remember that they had a dog. So then I can even search my system for dog name. And then that might help me remember and lead on to finding that piece of information, which then helps to reduce the amount of awkwardness when people turn up to your office and or on a web chat or in a networking event, and they're like, "Hey, how you going? Haven't seen you in ages." And you say, "Who are you again?" That's not a great return or reply. So it's much better if you can have some inkling, even if you kind of like navigate your way around. I've had whole conversations with people not realizing who the hell they are, and you just use the word mate instead of their name. And at the end, you go up and search it based on some of the conversation that you've had. Then it surfaces that person, and then all the memories come flooding back. And then you can pick up the phone the next day and go, "Hey, Tom, Tim, Jerry, Harry, whatever. It was great catching up with you the other day." So you can kind of save those moments. Now, I know that sounds a little bit bad, but if you do anything in sales, you need to get through the numbers. And if you're talking to 50, 100, 200, 300 people a day, either indirectly through, like content or through like speaking on the stage or something like that, or, like I go to a networking event last night, and there was 70 people there. So I didn't speak to all 70, but I probably had a decent conversation with about 15 to 20 of them. So in order to remember all of those interactions, it's going to be a little bit difficult to scale. And some of those interactions that I've had where I've not necessarily met the person directly, I've seen them indirectly, and I remembered pieces of information. And an interesting thing happened. I met one guy actually in the airport security line 2 days ago. I was getting on a plane. He was getting on a different plane. And I said, "Hey, I recognize you from this networking event." We started a conversation. And then I ended up inviting him into the lounge. And then once we were in there, we had another half-hour conversation. Then, by having the content online, he was able to research me and figure out who I was. I was able to work out who he was. And now we've got a conversation over a piece of work. And that's sort of planting those seeds that help you to scale and grow. But that's not something that happens automatically. G'day, Ross. How you going? I just saw this one now. Great to have you in here. 15 minutes is fine if you have to run. That's all good. But yes, apologies for 2 weeks ago when I wasn't here. So thank you for keeping me accountable. I really appreciate it. And thank you for coming back to watch. All good. So yes, be the farmer, not the hippie. So if you've just tuned in, we're talking about, are you nurturing your leads to grow, or are you just looking what's around you and picking what you can find? So be the farmer, nurture those relationships, because your business will be much more predictable. You'll have much less hassle finding clients. You can then get much bigger deals, and it's a lot less work. The whole hustle and grind culture today of, running businesses is not very sustainable. There's this glamorization of working stupid hours, and it's fair. I am working stupid hours. I am doing a lot of traveling. I'm doing a lot of networking, but that's because I am planting a lot of seeds for a lot of future growth. It's not as though the hustle and grind culture as being scrappy and trying to find your next meal. It's less of desperation and more of proactive effort. And I think that kind of comes through when you're having conversations or sales conversations with people, that people can smell the desperation. And that actually works a lot against you when you're trying to grow and do your sales. So if you have a conversation with someone and it doesn't work out and you're like, okay, no problems. We're not a good fit for you. You're not a good fit for us. That's fine. Who else can I introduce you with? I hope you have a fantastic day. You're here to nurture the relationship. You don't just shut them down and walk away. Whereas if you're desperate, you might try, oh, but this, oh, but that, but something else. Like we can make this work. I promise. And people feel that, and they take a step back. They recoil back because it doesn't feel nice when you're being hard sold. But if you're a little bit unreachable, if you're a little bit not elusive, but if you are have the appearance of being busy, then or that it's okay because you've got other work, that actually, in the mind of the customer, helps them see you as a professional, as someone who is popular with other people. So there's a little bit of evidence, well, not evidence, but like there's a inkling or a like a some bit of information that they're getting that is showing them that you are in demand, that you are someone worth paying attention to. So that actually helps your marketing and your sales process rather than hinders it. So being a little bit elusive, not elusive, but being a little bit, or at least giving the appearance of being busy with other work, means that you're not just someone who's turned up for that day, is trying desperately to get something over the line, and will do absolutely anything to close a deal. So desperation is your enemy. The hustle and grind culture really should go away. In fact, I'm in the middle of writing a book called Undercurrents, and it's about the things in business that you can do that are like below the line that people don't really see. It's not like that high visibility, I got to make 200 calls today or I don't eat. But you've got two types of business owner. One who is like stressed out, pulling their hair out, hustling and grinding as hard as they can, and nothing seems to be working for them. And then you've got the other guy who's pretty calm, collected. They turn up on time. They're relatively neat and tidy. They don't look as frazzled. They don't look as stressed. They're the ones that are, doing those things that are in the undercurrents, the things that most people don't see. And they're the ones that, sorry, where online calendars came on years ago, I was advised to limit time slots and exclude days and parts of days. Yes. Sorry, I did click that to bring that up. Yes, Ross, absolutely. I do that. I have block days. Most people, when the kids were a bit younger, and I had daddy daycare days on Thursdays. So we'd have them in childcare a couple of days, and then we had them a few days just so that they weren't like permanently in childcare. And even when they went to school, I kept doing the Thursday daddy daycare as a block day. That was my day to catch up. Yes, you can be in back-to-back sales meetings, but if you don't then deliver on what was spoken about, then you don't actually get anything done. I also have evenings blocked out because after about 3 o'clock, I'm not really going to absorb much in a meeting. I'm not going to bring my best self. Sometimes people flip it the other way. They say, I want to work in the morning when I'm on. But I tend to move it more around like, family and things like that. So definitely blocking time out on the calendar to get things done can be really, really valuable. And also, part of that proactive nature is maybe that's your time to start, block out 15 minutes a day to do LinkedIn connections, or block out some time to do phone calls to nurture your clients. So a lot of that is not necessarily sales time. It's cultivating your lead list. All right. And the other one I want to talk about is with like, making key connections and finding the right kind of person to connect with. So rather than, saying going one-to-one is the slow game, rather than finding, trying to find your ideal customer, I almost think that's almost a silly way to go. You should find your ideal referral partner, because why go hard on finding one client that's going to get you some money when you can find one person that knows 50 of your clients is much less work when they introduce you, because now it's a warm introduction. And then that person is a conduit to a lot more money. So rather than trying to go one to one, which, particularly if you have a very niche service, not everybody needs it. It's a little bit different if you have a highly transactional business like mortgage broker, real estate agent, lawyer. Every time you go to those networking events, like a BNI, for example, um, they're very militant and structured because it's highly transactional. For someone like me that does CRM consulting, it doesn't come along all that often. It's more rare that someone would want to implement a CRM, and then if they do, it's a big time and what's the word, resource kind of investment to change all their business structure. And so, in order to find those clients, I need to meet a lot of people, and in order to meet a lot of people, I have to explain a lot of stuff, and that's really hard to do and takes a very long time. So if you have a business that's like that, you don't have to do what I do, but if you have a business that takes a bit of explaining, requires some the person to be in that right frame at that right time, then you need to produce a lot of content. You need to educate, you need to find referral partners, and that is the best way to sell. And in saying that, the type of networking you do really matters. So a lot of small, like, yes, your ideal referral partners, you want to hang out where they hang out, but based on the size of customer you want, there could make more sense going to different types of networking events. There are small business events, there are industry events. I like to go to a few different types and mix that up, because then you can make introductions across each of those, I guess, verticals, and that helps you look like a legend when you've made all of those connections. Even if you pass one from over here to over there, because you are the conduit, you are remembered by both parties as being a positive influence in their life. So when creating a network, or when going to a network event, you need to try and find someone or a group of people that are either your referral partners or are in the ideal target size of market that you're going for. So often, if you go to, let's just say you're a home builder and you go to the Home Builders Expo, you are not going to stand out because you have another 50 or 100 home builders trying to demonstrate either to each other or to the other, to like the 5 customers that are actually going to go in and build a house. So not everybody that goes to these trade expos are actually your ideal customer, or if they are, now they're surrounded by choice, and that's actually problematic, because now who are they going to go with? They're probably going to go with the one with the biggest, flashiest stand or the lowest price. So what you need to do is you need to stand out and differentiate yourself. So I like to go to other industry events. So for me, where I provide a service to CRM, I can work with a lot of different industries. But if I go to the builders event, I'm not a builder. I can talk to everybody there. I also don't have to pay, $10,000 for a stand. I also get, it's an easier conversation, and you can hang out with people in the lunch area, or like I was saying before, I went to the defense industry networking event, and there's lots of people there. I'm ex-military, so you can kind of get in there and build relationships and that sort of thing. But over time, and you get to know what people do, and it takes more than 1 or 2 chats. Sometimes people exchange business cards and thinks that the world's going to happen for them after that. So thanks, Ross. The the business card exchange, when people go to these like speed dating events, it's so fleeting. It's like bumping into someone in a bus and saying hello, and then asking them to marry you. It's really not going to work, even from a referral partner perspective or from a customer perspective. And you can smell the desperation. Like I was saying, that's a real turnoff. So when you go to these events with an open mind about, I just want to connect with people, I just want to get to know, a few people that might know some of the people that I actually want to do business with, that is a hell of a lot easier. It's a lot nicer. And then, once you go a few times, you start building these relationships. Now you're having conversations about what they like to do on the weekend, and things that are a little bit more personal than just, here's my who is your daddy and what does he do? And if you're of a certain age, that's a movie with Arnold Schwarzenegger. Anyway, so all right, so we're coming into the end of our live stream today. If you've got any questions, please post them in the comments now before we run. Otherwise, we're here every Friday at the same time, same channel. Preferably, if you're watching this, I would love to have you over on the YouTube channel. That's where we've got most of our content and the one we're trying to grow most. We've got the online community. So let me just pop up my little banner here. So you can join the Relevate community where we talk about sales, marketing, and technology. There's a whole bunch of great people in there, a lot of professionals and service providers and people just trying to run their everyday business. If you got questions, queries, there's tons of resources, free courses, guides, etc. in there. So would love to have you in there. Otherwise, it's been great having you, and thank you very much for watching. You stay classy, and I will see you next week.